Okay, I'm here with the one and only Frank Tanner. Frank Tanner, how are you?
I'm good, how are you, man?
I am so good. You're playing in Bangor. We don't get people up here very much.
Yeah, the idea behind the tour I'm doing right now is to go to, the thing, I always struggle with the word with this because I don't want to say kind of like small or regional or off the beaten map or anything like that, because I don't want to do these places down, but places I don't usually go to. So the tour doesn't have Manchester, Glasgow, Birmingham, London or Bristol on it, and it's all other places because yeah, I always played those cities, and I thought I'd play some different ones, and it's been years since I was in Bangor.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said to us, when they come to places like Bangor and sort of strange cities, I mean, you're from Winchester, there wasn't a huge music scene there, right. But people particularly sort of embrace the live music there. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, definitely. Certainly there's kind of like, you don't get the kind of big city kind of conceited attitude that you sometimes get, and I'm sort of an adopted Londoner these days, and it's definitely true that at London shows you get a lot of people kind of going, impress me. I could have gone to 19 other gigs tonight, and it's kind of a terrible attitude to have for a show. Whereas, people, there's a sort of, again, I sort of want to pick my words carefully. I was about to say there's an air of gratitude, which sounds rather patronising, which is not my intention. But I think people just have a less complicated approach. It's like, cool, live music, check it out.
Yeah, definitely, and you tweeted saying you wanted to come to Bangor, and obviously,
yeah. Oh, there's been a whole story about this evening show. Should we tell the story of this evening show?
Definitely.
Well, the first thing is that the first leg of the tour, which finished the other day, was full band shows, and it was 18 shows around the UK in kind of not the major cities. And when we announced it, quite a few people kind of got in touch, and because we've been trailing the announcement for a while, saying it was going to be kind of smaller places in the UK. And quite a few people got in touch and said, well, hold on a minute, there's only one show in Wales, and there's only one show in Scotland, and there's no shows in Ireland, what gives, kind of thing. And being a kind of listening kind of guy, I saw a lot of these tweets and emails and stuff and thought, actually, that's a fair point. So we added an extra couple of weeks of solo shows on, so I was in the Isle of Man yesterday, and we're here today, and then Ireland, and then Scotland. But yeah, so I thought, yeah, Bangor, because the last solo shows, I came here twice on solo shows and did kind of, I played in like the living room of a building in the halls twice, just for some students who are into it, which was really fun and really kind of DIY, So I really wanted to come back, and then just couldn't find anybody who put on gigs in Bangor, so I thought I'd crowdsource it, put something on Twitter, got a few people. We got a show sorted out at a place called Academy, which then sold out, which was great, and that was very exciting. And then we got a call about 3 days ago saying that there was an 85 dB power cut noise limit in Academy, which essentially 85 dB is the sound of a crowd applauding politely. So it was just like, okay, so we can't have a gig in there. So then a desperate kind of hunt for other places to play came on, and we ended up in PJ Hall, and it's an exam hall. It feels quite kind of university-ish, but I'm sure it'll be fun.
Well, definitely, and a couple of weeks ago, my whole family went to see you in Reading at the Hexagon.
Right.
And one thing that they loved, particularly my mum loved, is the way you talk about your family and your friends and the affection you particularly talk about your mother. Is that something that's always been important to you, or is it something that just sort of happened when you started writing music?
I think it's something that's come out since I've been doing solo stuff. I didn't really sort of address that kind of stuff all that much when I was playing in hardcore bands, because it was much more about being angular and wiry and kind of angry about everything all the time and that kind of thing, which is fine, and that's probably how you should be if you're going to front a hardcore band. But I quite deliberately, when I started playing solo music, wanted to make music that was more kind of like holistic, if you like, And I called it folk music, which on a lot of levels it really isn't, technically speaking. But my reason for choosing the word is because I want it to be music that's accessible for everybody. And I don't mean kind of bland or kind of, that I'm desperately trying to be popular with it, but my mum's a musician as well, and I got bored of writing music that she couldn't really get a handle on, because she doesn't like kind of distorted screamy guitars and distorted screamy lyrics and stuff. And for me, it's a much more interesting method of communication to do something in a way that everyone can get into. I am now going to answer the question at some point in here. And so within that, I sort of just started writing about all types of different things, and particularly given that I've of course entirely self-inflictedly and by choice been living a kind of itinerant lifestyle for however many years now. It becomes, I think, in order to retain a kind of sense of like personal connection with friends and family and that kind of thing, it takes a bit more effort and a bit more conscious thought. So yeah, it's kind of come up.
Definitely, and folk rock isn't traditionally, you know, a hugely popular type of music. I mean, not for the sort of the younger generation anyway, but I mean, since Sleepers for the Week, I mean, you know, you've played Wembley, you've played at the Olympic opening ceremony. When that album first came out and you first went away from Million Dead, was there ever a fear that it wouldn't work out, or were you just doing what you wanted to do?
Well, both. I mean, I think it's not even really a fear that it wouldn't work out. I think there's an expectation that it wouldn't work out. I mean, it was great fun, but I mean, the first 18 months after Million Dead broke up, I was on the train with a rucksack and a guitar case and just playing to just no people for no money all day, every day, including in Bangor. And I'm not doing it down. It was a fantastic, wonderful time, but it wasn't a time that was charged with this feeling that something amazing was about to happen. It really wasn't. It was just me just travelling around getting drunk and kind of playing shows, some of which were probably okay and some of which were probably quite bad. But it's gradually just sort of came together, and I think one of the things I'm really happy about my career is that every rock biography always has that kind of like light switch moment where the band wakes up in the bed sit in Camden and their name's on the side of the bus or whatever, and I've never had my name on the side of the bus, but I've never had that kind of moment of going from penury to to overnight success or anything like that. You know, it's all been gradual, and I sort of always felt like every time I tour, there's just, you come back around and all the people who were there last time have come out and brought a couple of friends with them, you know, and it's a good feeling. And it sort of means that, like, yeah, I've played big venues and I've sold a fair few records and this kind of thing, but I'm really not like a household name, I don't think, do you know what I mean? And I don't get hassled walking down the street or anything like that, so, and that's fine, that's good.
Well, definitely, but you've made it in America, you've made it in Europe, but I think what your, like, real sort of fan base loves, particularly in England, is how British you are, and, you know, you bring Ben Marwer down tour with you, you bring Jim, you know,
Jim, yeah, he's with us today, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, well, although, I mean, I think that actually, funnily enough, the people in America particularly are massive Anglophiles in the punk scene out there. They all worship Joe Strummer and Billy Bragg and that kind of thing, and I think if you show up with an English accent singing about London, then there's a fair few of them. I mean, I know some of them have kind of slightly kind of fall over themselves. So it works out there as well, which was a pleasant surprise to me, actually, because the first time I went to the States I was wondering whether anyone there was going to care about a bunch of stories about suburban England, but it turns out they did, so that's good. But yeah, I mean, I want my music to be English, you know, that's important to me. I mean, and I'm not a nationalist, and I'm barely even a patriot, you know, I don't carry myself as being in any way better than anybody else because of the accident of where I happened to be brought up. I wasn't even born in England anyway. You know, I find all of that side of things ridiculous, but at the same time, my own personality is shaped, for better or worse, by aspects of English culture, and I find that interesting and worth it examining.
Definitely, you know, you're still on Extra Mile Records. I mean, you've got to deal with Epitaph now as well, but you know, since the first album, you've really stuck to that and stuck to your guns.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth stating for the record that as much as I love Epitaph, that's a license deal. So basically, I've only ever signed one record deal, and it's with Extra Mile. The deal then goes on to Epitaph from there, but. Extra Mile are my label, and I actually just re-signed with them for another 3 albums, so it ain't changing anytime soon.
And do you think that's something you've kind of proven to maybe a lot of other singer-songwriters, that you don't need to be, you know, the big guy on the big label to, you know, sell out Wembley?
Maybe. I mean, I'm wary of kind of heading too far down that route myself, partly because I feel like that's a conversation for other people to have, do you know what I mean? And also, I mean, there's a million different routes to achieving things in life and a million different things to achieve, and I really don't want to sit around and go, this is the way you should do it, or be normative in any way. This is how it's worked out for me. I have lots of friends in bands on major labels. They do fine, they have a good time, and I incidentally also have a lot of friends who are way more kind of DIY punk than I am as well, and that works for them, and each their own, really.
Yeah, and there's been a gradual change across your albums as well, in both the sort of sound and both the sort of lyrical content. What can we expect in the future, in the new album next year?
Well, we've finished making the new album. Well, we finished tracking the new album. We haven't finished mixing it. And in fact, in the middle of quite a fraught email conversation as we speak about some tweaks to some mixes. But it's, I mean, just as a brief aside as well, I have changed, and I hope I continue to do so. And sometimes people level it as an accusation. You've changed, to which it's like, yeah, isn't that the point? I mean, what else did you think I was trying to do? I mean, it's like going up to somebody you haven't seen 10 years and going, you've grown. It's like, I mean, it's just biology, do you know what I mean? And I love Sleepers for the Week, and I stand by it proudly and firmly, but I don't want to make it again. I want to, every time I go into the studio, make a different record. The new album is so happy to all that. The new album is, musically, it's kind of a bit more of a kind of country rock record, I feel is the word I want to use throughout it. And then lyrically, it's I pushed myself really hard to write the rawest, most exposed, most kind of visceral record I could, because I think that the reason a lot of bands kind of have a few good records in them and then kind of like lose their spark is because they start trying to second guess themselves, they start trying to get a bit sort of self-conscious about who's listening, and sort of, you know, you go from writing a song like Sunday Bloody Sunday to a song where the chorus is yeah, 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 you know, and in between those two, and I say that as a big fan of U2, but something's been lost, you know, and so with that in mind, it was important to me to try and push myself to try and not do that, and so lyrically it's the most kind of stark and raw kind of personal record I've done, I think, which I'm actually now a little bit nervous about, but we'll get there.
Well, awesome. And to end our interview, we would love to ask you to pick a song that we could play on air that you think sums up your sound to the listeners who've maybe not heard Frank Turner yet.
Again, tough question, tough question. And again, I feel like other people could probably answer it better than me. But I suppose if I'm going to pick one right now, I'll probably pick If Ever I Stray. I like that song a lot. It's fun, and it seems to kind of have a little bit of everything that I do in it.
Cool. Well, Frank Turner, thank you so much.
My pleasure, man.
And most of all, thank you for coming to Bangor.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Awesome. Definitely. Thank you.